So thank you again so much. Thank you for joining this or listening into this Juice Garden workshop. So it's a mini workshop. So it's not, full-fledged class or anything. So you'll notice that I'll fly right by. So just to give you a little bit of background of who I am. So I am a mom, I am a wife, and I am a professor at a local university here. I'm not exactly, it gets really complicated, but my official title is assistant lecturer. That's my title, so I haven't worked my way up to lecturer yet, or senior lecturer. That takes like a number of years. So I'm just entering into the game, also newly minted PhD, all of that. So, but for the case of this lecture, I am also a master gardener. I can't believe I can actually say that, but I do feel confident of saying I'm a master gardener. I have been gardening for about 4 years now. And I recently started a company this year, January 1st, 2020. I started The Harvest Doctor. And I did not correlate anything like my business with the global pandemic. Like I was literally working on The Harvest Doctor. I mean, really, when I think about it, I've been working on The Harvest Doctor really since like 2015. And then I started gearing up for my business. I knew that I wanted to do something in gardening after I graduated with my doctorate, but I just didn't know what. So I started like officially working for Harvest Doctor stuff, Harvest Doctor material, around Christmas of 2019. So, and the global pandemic just happened. And I decided to just not give up. I said, you know what? I set a date. I set a date for my launch date was the first weekend of spring 2020, and I just stuck to it. And it has been a beautiful ride. So I focus on garden installation, garden coaching, and education in gardening. And I have a really unique perspective because I am a new mom, and just looking back, like I said before, I told you that I was working on this stuff since 2015, and it really, really is true. So basically, and I'll show you on the next slide what I mean. So I have like several academic publications, and if you read my story on Instagram, you'll know that I had like a really challenging time getting through my doctorate program, and it was just like everything coming down on me all at once. So I just learned to deepen my faith in myself and the creator through the lens of gardening. And I really believe that my purpose here on this earth is to just encourage other people and through the lens of gardening. So the top few questions and statements that people usually have for me is they ask me, how did I juggle it all? How did I get through it? And actually very recently, I learned the power of waking up at 5:30 a.m. or even earlier. And I also have a gardening routine, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. What people don't know about me, I actually love design graphics, and I love teaching kindergarten. And teaching kindergarten, that's like I would say like a lost files of Carla Patton. But when I was in Detroit, I lived in Detroit for a few years. I did not garden in Detroit, by the way. I was a substitute teacher, and I loved kindergarten. I love teaching kindergarten, and I taught in some of like the most like problematic, some of the most dangerous schools in the area, charter schools too, and I loved it. I loved it. So I love teaching kindergartners. So I'm determined to show up as the best version of myself because I have a 2-year-old daughter, And I want to teach her that, you know, you have to go beyond talking and just do it, right? So I'm going to teach my daughter how to build a world that she wants to see for herself. So that's why I always have to be good to myself and to always be the best version of myself. So I gave you like a little bit of background on how I got interested in gardening. So number one, back in 2016, I had published an article about linking Black women's education, the classroom experience, and it being like a gardening experience. And this was before I was writing about gardens, before I had a garden. So I had really like a deep dive in the work of Alice Walker. And it was very, 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 like, it was very transformative for me. All things womanism, like, I love. So this article was a part of my comprehensive exams, because back then there was like 4 different layers of a comprehensive exam. You had to write a publishable paper. There was the actual comprehensive exam, there was the oral exam, and then you had your minor exam. So, so as I started like thinking about education and where I'm situated in gardening education, it dawned on me that I've had like a long experience on this. So also there's like a sudden stroke of fate. So while I was working on this article, my husband and I, we bought our first house. And one thing I noticed is that there was a garden plot in the back. And again, this was before I had published this paper. And I said, oh my God, like I have to garden. Like this is like it, like this has to be just, this is my purpose. So I took a crack at it and I loved it. I found out that the whole notion of green thumb is a myth. And shortly after that, my first year of gardening, and then shortly after that, a couple months later, this article was published. So, and in particular, it talks about how a social change aspect of teaching can actually help you overcome challenges and trauma. So that's essentially what I published my paper on. And also, like, if you've taken a class with me, you'll know how I would akin gardening to like overcoming hardships and trials and tribulations. So I talked a little bit about my comprehensive exams. So my comprehensive exams, they were very stressful, but how I got through it was that I had a regular gardening routine, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So just go down to stress here. So, oh, unfortunately you can't see my, okay, I'll move my face here. So this is pretty much me. So if you see, so look at these pictures, like that was me for 10 years, okay? So I missed all of the important cultural events. I missed all of the hot songs, okay? So for 10 years, like I was like completely in the dark. I had to get through my program, and there was like so much coming at me. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Like, I had absolutely no clue about what it meant to have a boundary. I had no clue about what it meant to protect your peace and your space. I was just like out there, just trying to survive it all. So how I got through it was that I literally studied, I read so many books, and then I would literally go outside and garden. And then I would come back and my hands would be like filled with dirt, and I would come back and then I would write my exams, and I would come back and I would write my dissertation proposal, and I would come back, right, and then I would write my dissertation, my chapter 1, 2, and 3, like, so it was literally like a back and forth for like 10 years, and I did like absolutely nothing. I did not socialize. I was just like, this is my goal, You know, I'm not going to let anything stop me. And if I have to be super strict, that's what I have to do, you know. And I had to make a lot of people mad because I'm like, look, I don't have time. Like, I got to get through. So, but again, that was back then when I didn't know anything about balance. And I did not know anything about dealing with toxic personalities. I was just like in it. So, but what I found was that I got a lot of clarity, and I got a lot of like understanding of what it meant to just live this life. And I got a lot of those answers. Like, and sometimes like we have questions that we can't even voice, or like we don't even know how to ask them. And sometimes we have questions that we don't even know about. And I just feel like gardening, studying soil, watching worms, you know, growing from the scraps that was given to them and still being able to thrive and to make something beautiful. I thought it was like fascinating how seeds will be planted literally in darkness, and how they're broken apart, they're broken open, and then they grow. And it's just much like our lives, you know, we're broken apart, we're growing, but then when we're growing, sometimes we got to be tender to ourselves, right? We got to be really gentle. And I learned that through caring for plants. And then you flower, right? You start to blossom. And the flowers are really beautiful. So if you've ever grown cucumbers, you'll know that before the fruit comes, you have a yellow flower, right? And it just helped me to think about, like, you can look good all you want to, but if you're not producing a harvest, then, you know, you got more work to do, right? So really, the flower is just, it's beautiful, but at the end of the day, you want to be producing a harvest. So those are like all the things that I had thought about, and I had applied it to my own life. So that's how I become interested in gardening. So I'm going to talk to you about a specific version of gardening, which really, really, really helped me. So we're going to talk about juice gardening. And when after I had my daughter, I really wanted to, I needed a boost, right? So shortly after I had her, I like failed miserably at juicing. Failed miserably. But then when the growing season started to begin, or the planting season started, I set aside some of my favorite crops, some of my favorite plants that I love to grow. And it was like a little plot, like a, well, I wouldn't say little, but I would say it was maybe about like maybe like a 4x4, something like that. And it was all the ingredients that I love. So I love kale, I love strawberries, and cucumbers. Those are like my favorite. And also like mint, lavender, so those kinds of plants, right? So it's a mix of fruits, vegetables, and herbs. And I noticed something like, it was like the most convenient way of gardening I've ever experienced. So what I would do is, when I was ready to have a juice, just like what I'm drinking now, I got my juice, got my juice. So I would just go out, just cut off what I needed. I would wash it off, put it in my blender, and I was done. And I noticed like just the difference. So as a result of this course, you will have a basic understanding of how to build and grow and harvest crops for the purpose of juicing and blending. Now, what you'll notice is that I use the term juicing and blending because they're two totally different things. Now, if you want to juice, you're going to need a bigger plot, right? Because juicing extracts, you know, the water or the moisture or the juice out of the plant, and it leaves the fiber. Okay, so if you're going to juice spinach, then you need a lot of spinach, right? But me, I prefer blending. So, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So basically, I just use water, and you can use um, whatever ingredient that you choose. So really, I'm talking about for the purpose of blending. That is what I do. But if you want to juice, then you're going to need a lot more. You're going to need a bigger space. So what's really exciting is that my clients experience much success in building, growing, and establishing harvests. You will experience similar success after hearing me and going through this mini workshop, because when it comes to a juice garden, the harvest will take place half of the time because you only need the ingredients, like a small amount of ingredients to make your blends. So, so I created this soil method and I'm really excited because it's actually working so far. So I'm really, really happy about it. So if you know me and if you've taken a class with me, you know how much I love soil, how much I love healthy soil. Soil is life. Soil is everything. So I basically created this sort of transformative model on how to teach on gardening, and also infusing gardening as a leverage for self-care. So the S stands for shape up and build. The O stands for outshine the others. And it's not about a competition, okay? It's not about a competition, but what I will say is that, okay, I'm gonna pull out my little brag bank here. I usually like to be real humble, and I'm really just like, okay, like I don't need like press or anything, but my gardens get pressed, okay? My gardens, whenever I touch a garden or whenever someone learns from me, you are definitely gonna have the best garden on the block, okay? And then outshining just also means like outshining your previous understandings of what it meant to be a garden, or what does it mean to be a gardener, right? And to just sort of like transcend that, right? So, and then on top of that, even at this stage, you will start to gain authority, okay, in your community. So therefore, you begin to outshine or shine upward, right? So, so the I means to increase, maintain, and take roots. So you'll start to not only increase your understanding of gardening, but gardening at this stage is going to complicate your previous knowledge about gardening. So it sort of builds on the O a little bit, because you're going to start glowing at the O stage, but in the I stage, as you start to become successful, your previous knowledge is going to be complicated a bit. So for instance, you might have grown up thinking like, oh, well, I will never be a gardener. I don't have a green thumb. But then once you start planting, once you start getting planted firmly, okay, get your plants in the ground, what's going to happen is they're going to start to grow, and then you're going to say, wow, like then you'll start to gain more confidence. And then all of a sudden you'll have the ability to start maintaining your garden, and then you'll be taking root. Basically, you'll be rooted in the knowledge of gardening, and then you'll be able to you'll formulate your own perspectives on gardening. And then in the L stage, you'll start to walk in authority. So in other words, lavish in the harvest. Now, if you are gardening for the purpose of juicing, your harvest is not going to be like a big abundance, kind of like what you see on Instagram and other social media platforms. Your harvest is going to look like this. Okay, this is what your harvest is going to be. Beautiful, luscious, green, healthy juices, right? And as we go through, I will definitely give you more detail about the soil method. So here are some of the things that I experienced as a result of juicing and having a juice garden. And I noticed things like at an instant. I mean, it's like the most beautiful thing. And I'm telling y'all right now, like, this is it. Like, this is the new wave of gardening. I'm putting you on. So, you know, you better be happy that I'm giving you this information, because I'm telling you, like, it's getting ready to take off. Like, trust me. So we're going to have a juice garden to live a better, more purposeful lifestyle. One thing I noticed is that there was a decrease in prep time. So you know how when you're juicing, you're like, okay, I'm going to get on my juice regimen. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then you're going to think about your goals, like whatever those goals are, right? And then you come home, you take the stuff out the bag, and then it's just like, I got all this stuff. What do I do? Okay. So then when you prepare your juice, you got to cut, you got to wash it off. You gotta, all that stuff, right? When I had my juice garden, I didn't do any of that. So I would harvest a cucumber, chop, 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 cut it up, throw it in there, boom, you're done. Literally, like the prep time was literally like cut in half. So also what you'll experience is like a decreased spending on juices. So there's absolutely no reason to go out and spend all this money on juices, right? There's no reason to spend that kind of money, because you have your ingredients right there. And if you are going to spend it, you can save it and then just kind of mix it up with your base or with your rotating ingredients, and we'll talk more about that. Also, a decrease in storage space. So that's another thing. So when you're juicing, what tends to happen is we buy all of these ingredients, and then they're wrapped up in, you know, all kinds of bags. They're wrapped up in storage bags. We got 50 million containers and all that stuff. When you have your juice garden, there is no need to buy 50 million containers, because what happens is you take what you need at that moment for your particular harvest or for your juice. So if you only need 3 leaves of kale, you just go out there and get 3 leaves of kale. There's no need to buy a big bundle, right? And then you have to store it. So I feel like nature is like the best refrigerator. That's another thing. Nature is the best refrigerator. So I have things out there now that I can go out and harvest right now. Okay, I don't have to store it in the refrigerator. I just go out and I just get it. Nature is the best refrigerator. Remember that. So also, this decreases gardening anxiety. That's another thing. So instead of having this long laundry list of all these things that you want to grow, think about your favorite juice ingredients and then focus on that. Okay, and then when you focus on that, you could narrow it down. Also, more efficiency, so increased efficiency. So it's like you get your things, you put them in your blender, and you're done. Okay, so it cuts down all this other blueprint. You know, the carbon, they talk about the carbon footprint. Okay, it decreases all of that. More organization. Okay, so when I was juicing, I can't even begin to tell you just how disorganized I was. And that's one of the reasons why I failed after I had my baby, because I was disorganized. I had half a piece of kale here, okay, a half of lemon here, a half of orange here, right? A little bit of blueberries here, you know, and I got all this strawberries, right? And then they're going bad. They're going bad. But now I got strawberries outside, right outside my door. And then I just get what I need to get. That's it. More organization. I think I talked a lot about more organization. You save money. And let me tell you what I mean by that. So for those of you that integrate juicing in your lifestyle, you'll notice that sometimes you do waste money. You do waste money. You know why? Because you have all of these ingredients, and then it ends up being uneven, right? So you'll have, so you'll have like a lot of your kale might be consumed or your spinach or whatever your base is, and I'll talk more about this, but then you'll notice that you may have more of this but less of that. You see what I'm saying? So you may have more kale here and less strawberries here, or you'll have more strawberries, okay, and less kale. And then it becomes uneven, and then it's like you have to keep running to the store. It's like, okay, I got a bunch of kale, but I don't have a lemon, okay? But when you grow your own food outside your door, when you grow your juice ingredients outside, you don't have to worry about like that unevenness. Obviously limits trips to the grocery store. And again, like going back to saving money, like sometimes we buy like a big bundle of like of like a spinach, right? There's no way, like me personally, I'm not drinking spinach every day. Like I can't do that, right? So then what happens is it begins to spoil, and then you have to buy more, okay? And spinach is expensive in my opinion, okay? But if you have spinach growing outside, and if you only need a couple of leaves, then you only need a couple leaves, okay? So that's how you save money. You save money by decreasing waste. And also beat the COVID-19 couch slouch. So right now, as of right now, over 100,000 people are dead. The country is exploding. There are protests going on, which is absolutely like, I mean, just what happened with another Black man being killed. It's awful, right? People are protesting. The country's reopened. There's going to be another spike. There's going to be another spike. So we're going to have to stay home again. And I'm not a public health expert. I do have a PhD, but health education, epidemiology, that's not my field. I did teach medical sociology for a few years, but I'm only guessing. So the country's going to be shut down again because there are going to be more spikes, okay? So with that being said, if we're sitting on a couch and we're just watching these protests and things of that nature, the least we can do is have our own juice gardens. So we can, I don't know what your purpose or what your reason is. I don't know, some of you use it as a meal replacement. Some of you may use it as a boost. Some of you may use it for breakfast or whatever. Okay, so whatever the reason may be, and talk to your doctor, by the way, whatever the reason may be, right? You could definitely have a boost in the middle of this chaos, right? Also, juice gardening allowed me to have a consistent juicing schedule because I knew that I was going to do something fun. I don't have to get in my car and get my baby and go to the produce section and gather all this stuff. No, I could just go outside. I could play with different ingredients, you know, and that encouraged me to want to keep going because the ingredients are right there. They're right there. Also, I mean, the health benefits, you know, you just have to think about what it is that you want. I'm not a health expert. I'm not a health expert. So, I mean, you can have a juice garden for the purpose of clear skin. You can have a juice garden for the purpose of weight loss. You can have a juice garden for the purpose of anti-diabetic, for the anti-diabetic properties, the anti-cancer properties, you know, so that's like research that you have to do on your own and you have to talk to your doctor about. But I know that when I had my juice garden, I instantly saw differences in my skin, okay? Because I was constantly harvesting every single day. And also, last but not least, the garden to blender experience is like so awesome. Like, I can't even begin to tell you like how wonderful it is for me to just clip off the ingredients that I need, put it in my blender, and then boom, I have my juice. Okay, so you might say, what is a juice garden? So a juice garden is a garden full of fruits, vegetables, and herbs for the purpose solely for juicing and blending. So juice gardens, in my opinion, are relatively small and they are a few inches away from your home. And to make sure you think about the water source, because there's nothing more horrible than um, oh, going out, getting the hose, and it's in the middle of summer and it's 100 degrees outside. Okay, so you want your juice garden. So just think about it like, okay, I'm sitting on the couch, I need my juice. So you just walk outside, or you can also grow juice gardens in your kitchen. Take what you need, clip it off, put it in your blender, and boom, you're done. But make sure you put it near a water source, because you hate to, get the hose and you have to walk a far distance to water your garden, your juice garden. So here are some critical questions to ask yourself before you start your juice garden. So think about, who does this belong to? Does it belong to me? Does it belong to my spouse, my partner, whatever, my family? Who's going to help you build this juice garden, right? Are you going to have a raised bed? Are you not going to have a raised bed? I would recommend that you have a raised bed, but you don't have to have a raised bed. You absolutely don't have to. What ingredients? Okay, so when do you want to start your juice and blending regimen? So where do you want to build your juice garden? So you need to think about the sunlight, the amount of sun, the amount of shade. Why do you want to build this juice garden, and how will you build it? So those are just some like really important questions that I never thought about when I first started gardening. Okay, so grow your juice blends. So here are some of the most common ingredients found in juices. Now, I realize that this is not all of the ingredients, but these are like the most common. Some of these, depending on the zone that you're in, so as you can see, it says check your zone. So you have to check your zone. Now, you can grow lemon in the summertime, but you're gonna have to grow it in a container. And then once the weather cools off, then you need to bring it in the house. And then I will also get a heating pad, right? So that you can have a harvest of lemons. But other than that, like, here are some of the things that you can grow. So again, my favorites or my priority is spinach and kale and cucumber. Also pineapples is a favorite of mine, and strawberries and blueberries. So those are pretty much, and lavender. I love lavender. So those are the ingredients that I grow. So again, you can pick your own ingredients, pick your own, your favorite that you like to consume, and think about it. So you've heard me talk about your base and your rotating blends. So this is what I like to call, so this is, I think, like the foundation of juice gardening. So there's two types of crops that you can grow. So your base blends are the blends that you use constantly, like every day. So my base blend is kale. So there's kale in here. So the most common base blends are kale, spinach, romaine lettuce, and cucumbers. And then celery is also like another, could be considered a base blend. But these are like the most common ingredients that you find in juices, like across the board. So the rotating blends are the blends that you don't really like to have or need to have every day, right? But a rotating blend for you can clearly be a base. So strawberries quite oftentimes is a base for me. So therefore I have to grow a lot of strawberries in order to get that. So your rotating blends are things that you could switch out every other day or every 2 days or so. So as for your base blends, you need quite a few plants, maybe like 3 or 4 plants. So maybe you can have 2 kales, 2 spinaches or something like that, and a couple of cucumber plants. Okay, so your rotating is quite oftentimes strawberries, blueberries, celery, mint, parsley. Also a base blend, another base blend that I use constantly is lavender. So a herb can also be your base blend. It just depends, you know, on your taste buds. So these are really important. Base blends, rotating blends. So whatever is, you know, whatever suits your fancy, that's what you go with. So now I'm gonna give you 60 seconds to think about your base blends and your rotating blends. So I'm gonna literally count 60 seconds. So take one look at this and think about what you want to plant, okay? So I'll give you 60 seconds starting now, go. All right, I believe that's around 60 seconds. So I'll share my base blends and my rotating blends with you all. So my base blends are kale, cucumber, spinach, and lavender. My rotating blends are strawberry, blueberry, and pineapple. So again, so depending on the day or really depending on what kind of harvest I have, I'll switch these ingredients around. Some will be more than others. And then sometimes my pineapple will be my base blend. So for me, it really depends on the harvest, what I'm growing and when it comes up. Okay, good job. That's the milestone. Okay, so I've said this before. So before you start, take note of the sunrise, the sunset, and the condition of the soil. So the picture that you're seeing is that is a soggy soil, and that's a soil, or that's an area that you do not want to plant a garden. So whenever you see a area that looks like that, you do not want to plant a garden there, because it will flood the roots and then your roots will rot out. So again, check for puddles and soggy soil. That means there's not enough drainage and your plants will die. So if you are planting in a raised bed, I don't think you necessarily have to do this. So well, I take that back. If you are going to purchase your soil, I don't think you have to do this, but if you're going to use your native soil, then I would recommend that you test your soil for pH balance. You can get these tests anywhere from $5 to $30. You can get them at Home Depot. I mean, any nursery. And you want your soil to be 7.0, which is equivalent to water. Okay, and here are the ingredients to cure. So if you have soil that is acidic, then you put lime in your soil. And if you have alkaline soil, you can use sulfur, or you can just roll with it, because sweet soil, otherwise known as alkaline soil, there's quite a few crops that do prefer a little bit more alkaline in the soil. Okay, so again, I said that here are some milestones. So you've already narrowed down your list to your favorite bases and rotating crops. That's awesome. Okay, so also you've decided on the perfect juice blend regimen. Okay, so that's what you need to do. And then once you've completed that, you are on your way to developing your own juice garden. Post it on social media and share your goals with a supportive friend. And when you share it on social media, make sure you use the hashtag Basin Blends. Okay. So here's the S in soil. So we've passed the introduction here. So shape up and build. Okay, so what that means is think about what kind of juice garden you want, how big, how small, and I think it really does depend on your juice regimen. A 4x4 and a 2x8 really is something that I would recommend. That's just me, but if you're starting out, if you want a 1x2, in that picture there, that is a picture of a 1x2 that I build. And actually, I don't think she's not using that as a juice garden, but it can also be like a starter garden too. But a 4x4 and a 2x8, which is a 16 square feet, if you want to have like a pretty good juice regimen, I would recommend that. I would even recommend a 2x4 if you don't want to go that big. And by the way, if you're interested in building a raised bed, you can contact me and I can build your raised bed for you, or you can get the plans online and get the lumber yourself and do it, or you can go to your local store and pay incredibly high prices. You can pay in those incredibly high prices for a raised bed, so whatever you prefer. So again, so this is just basically how to start to build your juice garden. So what I did was I used these stakes and I used ribbon. That's all. I used a digging fork and I dug up around the edges. And then once I got the edges dug out, I started on the inside. If I were you, now if you're a heavy duty gardener, I would keep the soil. So what you do is you kind of like tease out the soil from the grass, and then you put it in a big pile. Okay, and then when you put it in a pile, compost it. Let it sit for a year, and then you can use that soil for the next season. And then what you do is put down newspaper, and then soak your newspaper with water. Okay, soak it with water, and then put your raised bed down, and then fill it up with soil. And here are some type of juice gardens. So that's my juice garden there. And do you see the orange flower? That is a marigold, and that's actually edible. And I would not juice that, by the way, but it is edible. I would probably just decorate it with just like a nice, just to make your plate look really nice and pretty. And if it happens to get mixed in your mashed potatoes or whatever, like, you could totally eat it. It's not gonna kill you. Okay, so as you can see, I'm growing my priorities here. I'm growing mint, cucumbers, and kale here. And this is strawberry mint, by the way. Okay, so you could do a trio. So basically you can grow in containers. So I have 2 blueberry bushes here, blueberry plants, and then I have a rosemary growing as well. So as you can see, the trio, you have 3 containers. Also, you can use a border garden. This is my grandmother's garden, by the way, and I just feel like this picture is just so beautiful, so chic. So here she's growing collards, but you can certainly have your garden just like this on a border, and a border usually goes out maybe about 2 feet or so, 2 or 3 feet. And again, this is another border garden too, but it's also known as a twin garden, and this is also a vertical garden. So if you want to grow cucumbers, if cucumbers is a priority of yours, like it is for me, the cucumbers will climb up this trellis here. So, and sometimes these gardens again can overlap. So twin gardens, vertical gardens. So this previous picture here, like I said, this is a vertical garden. And this also characterizes as a vertical garden. What you'll do is you'll attach that to your raised bed, and then your climbers like cucumbers, if that is something that you like to juice, it will climb on this trellis here. And you'll be able to, instead of bending down, you know, you could just pick your cucumbers above you or in front of you, right? And that cuts down a lot of time and stress. So also a note about soil. If you are juice gardening, I would highly recommend that you avoid cow manure or any kind of animal-based product. I would use alfalfa meal or like a cottonseed meal. Yeah, cottonseed meal. I would even avoid mushroom compost, because mushroom compost sometimes has chicken manure in it. Maybe you can call the company or email the company to see what actual ingredients are in mushroom compost. But just watch out for the mushroom compost. But I personally would not use cow manure compost. And if you are vegetarian or vegan, I would probably avoid cow manure as well. So, and then as for the soil blend, I think it just really depends on, what you're actually growing, and I think we'll talk a little bit about that. So all the ingredients that you need really is a topsoil. You need a sand, not play sand by the way, but sand. And I don't think now in some places like Home Depot and Lowe's, you can't find the sand in the garden area. You have to go like near the lumber, and it's like all-purpose sand or something like that. And then obviously a compost, so you will want a vegan compost. And you'll also want worm castings as well. Okay, so your milestone 2. So determine what kind of structure you want for your juice garden. Clear out your area that is near a water source, build your raised bed if you want one, and post your progress on social media and share with a supportive friend. Yay! Okay, milestone 2. So if you've completed this, you are like really close to building your dream juice garden for sure. So next we're gonna outshine and plant. And I think I explained this to you. So this is the part where you really get to grow, right? In my transformative teaching models, growth happens like really fast. So, but before you plant, you have to gain an understanding on what you're actually planting. Now, I'm only going over the plant families that are most commonly found in juicing and blending. So kale is, sometimes I do juice my collard greens, but you gotta leave it longer, because if not, you'll get clunks and clunks of fiber, which is good. So kale is a part of the collard family. Kale, as you know, prefers well-drained soil, and they also prefer cooler temperatures. So the spinach family, so again, the spinach family, they also prefer well-drained soil and excuse me, and cooler temperatures. The cucumber family, they like a little bit more heat, you know, so if you're planting cucumbers right around the end of frost, you know, they may make it, you know, but just know that they require full sun, and all of the other ones do, but they really thrive in cooler temperatures. But the cucumber family, they love warm temperatures, and they also like the sand to be a little sandy, so I would definitely throw a little bit of sand in with your mix, your soil mix. The lettuce family, I do not put lettuce in my juices, but again, now this family, they're, you know, it kind of varies, right? So number one, like daisies and artichokes, obviously they prefer like a warmer climate, but lettuce, you know, not so much. And dandelions actually belong to this family. So isn't that interesting? So daisies and lettuce, like they all, and dandelions, they all belong in the same family. That is like fascinating to me. So you can, I don't know about juicing dandelions, but you can, you know what, you can also harvest dandelions, you know, and you can wash them real good and put them in your greens, and they do really, really, really well. Okay. So as for the soil, I would throw like a little bit of sand in there, but again, they like well-drained soil. The carrot family, they like really, really loose soil, because you know the root systems for the carrot, they have to grow, they have to be able to push through, so they don't really like a lot of clay. So, and if you notice, the carrots are in a family with a lot of herbs. Okay, so just know that this family, they love, they also love a little bit more cooler temperatures. I mean, I don't know about the celery, but they definitely do prefer cooler temperatures and a little bit of sand, but well drained. And you know, what did I say? Loose. Okay, the blueberry family. Oh, I forgot to add my picture of my blueberry. Oh, okay. Well, you can picture a blueberry in your mind. But it's fascinating though, because blueberries are not in the same family as strawberries. And oftentimes we use strawberries and blueberries collectively. So they, strawberries or blueberries and cranberries, they love well-drained soil, but they also do prefer warmer climates and a little bit of sand in their soil. Okay, so the mint family is another really important family here. And it's very important to me in my garden. So the mint family is pretty much huge. So here we have mint, sage, thyme. So mint and lavender and rosemary, they do prefer like a little bit of I don't want to say dry, because it's like, if it's dry, then people say, well, Dr. Pat, you said they prefer dry, and now, you know, they did. Okay, so, but once you start to garden more, like you'll understand like what is a good dry and a bad dry. But they don't really like a lot of moisture, because the mint family, they derive from the Mediterranean region. So when you think of the Mediterranean, you think of sand, you think of dryness, you think of sun, you think of heat, you know, we think of a place that we want to go, right? So one thing with mint though, I would grow it in a container, because mint spreads like wildfire, especially pineapple mint. Like I planted pineapple mint in the back corner of my garden, and it is like, I've cut it down with a weed whacker. I thought I pulled it all up, and it just came back like full force. And now it's in my my corn maze. So I would definitely grow it in a container. And if you are going to grow in a raised bed, make sure you plant it by the edge, because mint and rosemary and lavender, they love a little bit of dryness, and they love sandy soil. So just make sure like you put a little bit more sand in your soil if you're growing these crops. Okay, and one thing I wanted to say about lavender, I'm pretty sure that many of you would like to see a or would like to see my favorite juice blend. I love lavender. I mix lavender or blend lavender in with kale and strawberries. That's my favorite. And the lavender tastes so good. It like is so strong that it overpowers the taste of kale. Because I just can't do plain kale or plain spinach. Like, no, I can't do that. So, but the lavender really makes up for it and covers it up. So, and it allows me to drink large amounts of kale and spinach without having the taste, because of the lavender. Okay, so here's milestone 3, plant your favorite crops. Okay, so make sure you water, aim at the soil. Don't give them a good drench, although tomatoes like a good drench every now and then, but make sure you aim for the soil. And also make a list of ingredients that you might need for your juice and your blend. So whatever that is, if it's a powder, get it. Okay, if it's a lemon, okay, make sure you write that down. If it's like a syrup or like a protein powder or whatever, so make sure you write all that down. And post your progress on social media or share with someone that is happy for you and wants to see you succeed. Okay, milestone 3. Okay, let's go back here. So here is the part where you really start to become an authority. You really start to confront your previous notions of what it means to be a gardener, and then you begin to increase or you begin to grow as a result of that. And then here at this stage, you might even see a harvest, okay? So just make sure you do the following. So make sure you pull weeds. I would, if you plant things from seed, I would kind of avoid pulling weeds unless you actually know that it's a weed, because sometimes if you're not familiar with the way a plant looks as it's coming up, you might accidentally uproot your crops, and you don't want to do that. But definitely if it looks like a dandelion, definitely pull it up. And in my class, like I go through different scenarios or different ways to actually pull weeds. So make sure you aim straight for the soil. Make sure to make your cucumbers climb. I think it's so important that your cucumbers should climb instead of being strewn all over the ground. The reason why you don't want them on the ground is that, number one, bugs are going to eat them. Rodents, they're susceptible to rodents. They're susceptible to the moisture in the soil. And if the cucumber is growing literally on the ground, what you'll find is that on the top part, it's going to be perfectly green and it's going to be beautiful. But if you lift it up, it's going to be all yellow. You can't eat that. Okay, so it's just best to have a climber. So think about how you want to engage in vertical gardening. And if you are confused about vertical gardening, you can always contact me and book an appointment with me, and we can talk about it. And also make sure you cut off you make sure you prune them or cut off the shoots. So what you'll find is that, especially like cucumbers, you'll have a stalk, right? But then there's like a little piece of stem that's like sticking out there. Make sure you cut that off. Because if you cut that off, then that means all of the energy can be used to grow the plant instead of just putting energy into this one little tiny shoot that's going to suck up all the energy. Also, do not walk on your soil. Just, how would you feel if somebody walked all over you? I definitely know what it feels like to be walked all over. And let me tell you, it's not fun, okay? Same thing with your plants, right? Okay, so as you can see, the milestones, as you get that foundation, you start to build and build and build, right? So your action items, make sure you pull weeds, you train your cucumbers to climb. If cucumbers are a part of your ingredients that you like to juice, cut off weathered plants. So if you see some yellow on the bottom of your plants, like, don't be discouraged or anything like that. And post your progress, on social media and share with your community. Milestone 4. Okay, so now it's time to harvest. It is time to harvest, and that is the fun part. And this is what your harvest is gonna look like. That's what it's gonna look like. So this is my harvest here. That's my harvest. So again, I don't have like a bounty of, big, leaves and things like that, because you're gonna blend them up and put it in here, right? So that's the harvest. Okay. So one thing I want to say, let's go back here. So one thing I want to say is that when you are harvesting, make sure you always cut from the bottom. Leave the center alone. Leave the center alone. So if you're harvesting kale or spinach, just cut along, and even like an herb like mint or an herb like lavender, make sure you always cut from the bottom and never harvest more than a third of the plant. Okay, so just harvest a little bit of the plant, but do not harvest no more than 1/3, because if you harvest 1/3 of the plant at one time, you know, you're not, you got to give time for the plant to recover. Okay, so as a result of this milestone, or as a result of this piece here, you will experience the following milestones. You will get organized, you will demonstrate more efficiency, you will increase your knowledge about gardening, you will post your gardener to blender experience on social media and share it with your community. And I have a video here, and I just want to show you just how easy and simple it is to have a juice garden.
Are you ready?
So basically, this is just a really short video as to how I went about my harvest experience. So what you saw is I harvested kale, I harvested spinach and lavender and strawberry, okay? And I mixed all the ingredients up. I lost the video of me actually mixing the ingredients, but I mixed the ingredients up and then I washed them off, and voila, you know, I had my drink. So that's how quick and easy it is. And whatever goal that you have as a result of juicing, you will reach it, and you will reach it faster if you have a juice garden. Okay, so here are just a few individuals who were impacted by just the experience of just taking the class or just interacting with the class. You don't have to go through the class in its entirety, and I think that's what like a lot of people are asking. People are just like, well, you know, it's probably too late, you know, I haven't gone through the material. Like, it's totally okay. But it's amazing because a lot of these, a few individuals have not even like gone through the class all the way, and they've only interacted with the material a little bit, and they are literally like building whole entire garden structures. Like they are like building just like some of the most amazing gardens, right? Just interacting with this material alone. So I am really, really so excited about it. And I have a couple of more testimonials, but I'm going to save those for later. So maybe I should read a few. So So I was talking to a person that's enrolled in the class, and she mentioned something along the lines of she's engaging in yard surgery, and I just loved it. I loved it because I have definitely engaged in yard surgery. So I just love the statement. So, and then she says, yes, ma'am, this was a job, definitely using some of the tools from Kitchen Garden 101. She says, thank you. And then this is just a post about gardening in general. And one gardener who's taking the course said, I have to recommend the Harvest Doctor for anyone gardening for the first time. She offers ideas for small scale container gardens too. So even if all of you have is a balcony, her advice can work. So thank you for that. So just to talk a little bit about the course, just one slide of it. So just wanted to say thank you again for going through this mini course in juice gardening. So I have a bigger course, okay? So the cost is $30 until June 1st of 2020. And then from there, the price is going to go up. So this is basically a virtual course teaching gardeners how to thrive in COVID-19. And so basically I give you tips and tricks on how to limit your trips to the store, basically, and basically to use what you already have in your kitchen, like using things that you already have. So it's definitely grounded in self-sufficiency, teaching individuals how to see the beauty and the possibility that they already have on their balcony, that they already have in their yard, and how they can transform what they have into something beautiful, okay, which is a harvest. So right now, currently, there's 2 modules deriving from the soil method, and there's also a free ebook entitled Level Up the Raised Bed, in which I have a step-by-step guide via pictures on how to build your own raised bed. So that's pretty much like the plan, okay, of building like a basic raised bed. So again, you have June 1st, so 2020, to enroll and to purchase the course. The course is now $30, but it will increase in price, so you better get it. I'm telling you, it's like, this course has been like so amazing. I mean, it's made the news, you know, it's gotten a lot of attention. So be a part of, you know, this growing revolution, right? So this is like a thing, like this is a real big thing. So again, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you've gotten mostly all the tools that you need, or a basic understanding of the importance of having a juice garden. Again, when I had my juice garden, I didn't realize that I had a juice garden until I started teaching this course. And having a juice garden, it really, really changed the game for me. Like, it really did. And I just looked at gardening from a whole new perspective and a whole new way. So if you have any questions or comments, you can email me at theharvestdoctor@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on my website, www.theharvestdoctor.com. So please register. So under Teachable, you have to register first, then you have to purchase it. So when you register, that doesn't mean that you purchased the class, right? So you have to definitely go in and register. But just reach out to me also on my social media platforms. Carla Janelle Patton, you can reach out to me like that. You can reach out to me on my Facebook page, The Harvest Doctor, and you can also reach me on Instagram too. So I am very active on Instagram, by the way. So also, please follow me on Instagram if you're not. So thank you so much, y'all. I really appreciate it. And this class will be available for only 1 day. So congratulations, you got all the tools you need to start your beautiful juice garden. And I cannot wait to see all of the pictures of your juice garden. All right, y'all have a great day and stay safe, and God bless y'all. Thank you so much. Bye.